Hi everyone and welcome to our 6th and final episode of DreamSpace ByteSize here in One Microsoft Place in Dublin. My name's Niamh.
And I'm Michael. Last episode we learned all about coding and even the microbit. We were coding about ourselves and it was really fun, wasn't it, Niamh?
It was indeed. However, today we're going to do something ever so slightly different with code. We're going to create our very own animations that are going to get us moving.
Before we get started though, guys, I want to ask you a quick question. What do you think an animation is? Now is a good time to pause and discuss this at home or in your class. Okay, so hopefully now you've had a good discussion about what exactly animation may mean or when you have heard about it before. Animated movies and TV shows are super popular and sometimes, Niamh, they're even known as cartoons.
They are indeed. And animations just create the illusion of movement. So take, for example, here, we've got two different images of a heart. So we've got a small heart and a big heart. And over here, then, they create the illusion of a flashing heart or an animation of a flashing heart. And we're going to combine that today with something that we love to do, which is exercise, Michael, isn't it?
Exactly. And we're going to be doing that by setting ourselves a vault. And this week's vault is we are learning to use animations to help us exercise. So now, as you can see here on your screen, we're going to have some examples of exercises or animations we have done on our microbit, and we're actually going to be creating some more today. So first of all, we have our jumping jacks.
And we have our push-ups.
And finally, we even have our toe touches.
So it sounds very exciting. I can't wait to get started. However, we're going to be introducing you to some new coding concepts. And the first concept we're going to be introducing is inputs. And I suppose an input takes in information from its environment. So the microbit uses many different inputs. And I suppose today we're going to be using on button A pressed, which means that when we press button A, it's going to execute the code that's inside of that C-shaped block. So we've covered C-shaped blocks in our last episode where we used on start. However, we're going to be using the on button A pressed button today.
As well as that, guys, is when we're exercising, doing one jumping jack or one push-up is not a whole lot of fun. It's not a lot of exercise, Niamh, is it?
No, it's not really.
So we need a way to repeat that code over and over again to make it a lot easier so we don't have to always be pulling in those show LED blocks. And we can use a new block called loops to do this. We can actually pick how many times we have a certain block of code looped, and that's going to really help us when we're making our animations.
It is, but don't set it too high because I don't know if I'm going to be fit to do too many jumping jacks or push-ups.
Now is a good time to pause and head on over to makecode.microbit.org and follow along with us as we're coding our very own animations. Okay, now that we have our microbit website open, we're ready to start coding our very own animation and get moving with our exercises. So Niamh, we just learned about 2 new coding ideas just there. We learned about a brand new C-shaped block as well. Can you remember what that was?
Yeah, the input on button A pressed, and it was a pink block, so I think we would find it in the pink input category.
I think that's a good place to get going, so I'm going to open up my input category and drag out my C-shape on button A pressed block. That's a great place to get started, guys, so now we can start coding our animation. We need to start drawing some pictures and put those together to kind of emulate movement, isn't it, Niamh? That's what animations is. So what kind of block, we learned about it last week, will help us draw some pictures?
So I think we could use our show LEDs block. So we can find that in our basic category.
Oh, show LEDs block, drag it out, and I'm going to make sure it connects right into my on button A press C-shaped block. A good starting point.
Looks great.
Now, Niamh, we have to decide what exercise are we going to be animating?
Well, my favourite exercise is jumping jacks. So how about we start off with them? But first, I think we need to break it down into the different steps that we're going to need to take in order to create our animation. So we're going to have to create a couple of different pictures to create the illusion of movement. So let me think how our jumping jacks start off. Well, usually you start off with your hands by your side and...
Kind of like this, yeah? Yeah, so that's our starting position for our jumping jack. And I'm fairly sure we can kind of recreate that as a stick figure in our show LEDs block, right? and his arms down beside him as well.
Looks great.
Looks quite similar, doesn't it?
It does indeed.
Brilliant. Now we need to carry out another surely D's block for the next stage in our exercise. So I'm going to go back into basics. I'm going to drag out my surely D's, and I'm going to make sure it's in the correct sequence. So after my step 1, step 2, place it right under my starting position. So Niamh, I start here as a jumping jack, and then I kind of go out here. Yeah?
Yeah, that looks good.
Brilliant. Oh, and arms out straight. But we're not done yet, are we?
No. I think we need to go a little, your arms generally go up further in the air and your legs go wider.
Okay, so kind of like that, yeah?
Exactly.
Perfect. Okay, I think I can do that with our surely D's block. I'm going to drag this out, place it there. So my stick man is going to have his hands right up into the air, just like I did, and his legs nice and wide. Do you want to test it out?
Yeah, I think it looks good.
I'm going to go full screen, guys. So remember, you can click full screen in the bottom right under your simulator. And what was our input, Niamh? It's not running yet. We need to press a button maybe to run it.
We do indeed. So we have to remember to press button A.
Okay, button A. Ooh, brilliant. But not a whole lot of jumping jacks going on there. Just one. That's not a lot of exercise. We learned about a new coding idea just before this, Niamh. That might help us out. Can you remember what it was?
Yeah, we could include a loop into our sequence and it would allow us to repeat our animation over, I don't know, however many times we want. So we could say maybe 10 jumping jacks.
Brilliant. And what category will we find that in, Niamh? The loops category. That is green. I can drag this out, guys, and this is going to be a new thing for you guys. We need to make sure that we place it and to wrap it all the way around all of our animations. And before you place it, guys, you'll actually see that it's kind of grayed out and seeing that it's wrapped around them and all of our surely D blocks. I can place it there. Yeah?
Looks great. However, it says repeat 4 times. So I think it'd be nice if we change it to maybe 10 because I love doing 10 sets of jumping jacks at a time.
Okay, brilliant. So I'm going to click 4. And now I have my keyboard up. I'm going to exit out that. I'm going to go 1, 0. Okay, close my keyboard. Let's test it out. Go full screen. Press A. Ooh, there he goes. There's my little microbit stick man doing 10 jumping jacks. If we count those off, you'll actually see that it's looped 10 times, so he's going to be doing 10 of them. So now, Niamh, we have our button A pressed, already doing our jumping jacks. What should we do about on button B pressed?
I think we should use on button B pressed to do press-ups maybe.
Brilliant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my inputs. I'm going to go on button A pressed again. That's a good thing to note, guys. There's not going to be any block that says on button B pressed. It's going to be on button A pressed, and I'm going to drag this out and place it there. Uh-oh, it's gone grey and yellow, just like something that happened to us last week as well. Now is a good time to pause and discuss, why do you think this is happening? Okay, great. So hopefully now you guys have figured out that we have a bug in our code, Niamh, don't we?
We do indeed.
As you can see, on button A press is already busy doing our jumping jacks, but we have another on button A pressed over here. You can't have button A being too busy. You can't carry out 2 things at the same time. So we need to use this little arrow that drops down, and we then click B, and now it goes back to its nice color, on button B pressed. We're going to put our own animations of our push-ups, and we're even going to do an animation of toe touches, isn't it, Niamh?
Yep.
And we're actually going to catch up with you at the end as we test out our code. Okay, so we've now coded all of our animations for each 3 of our exercises, and we're ready to test it out. Niamh, are you willing to volunteer to try them out?
Yep, I'll try my best. I don't know how good I'll be, but I'll try my best.
Brilliant. So we have our jumping jacks on button A pressed, we have our push-ups on button B pressed, and we have our toe touches on button A plus B pressed. Okay?
Okie doke.
Something to note as well, guys, is when you're using A plus B, a new button appears on your simulator, your microbit simulator. So just to note that, Niamh, right?
Looks good.
So I'm going to go full screen. We're going to try it out, and you're going to follow along with our animation and do as many exercises as we've coded and looped it to do. Okay?
Perfect.
Let's try it out. I'm going to go on A plus B pressed.
Oh.
We got toe touches. Count those off. How many?
3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10.
Great stuff.
Woo.
You really kept up there, so fair play. Okay, so now I'm going to refresh my simulator. And now we have on button A pressed, which is our jumping jacks, and we have our on button B pressed for push-ups. Which one would you like to do, Niamh?
Well, my favourite exercise, as I already said, is jumping jacks. So let's maybe go with jumping jacks.
Let's press our button A, test out our code.
1,
3,
5,
4.
6, 8, 9, 10.
You're actually a lot faster. You beat our animation, so great stuff. Okay, so our animations all work, Niamh, didn't they?
They do indeed.
It's really important, guys, for when you're making your animations to always go check and make sure they look right and test them out. Now, Niamh, I think it's time for us to review our episode.
I think that's a great idea. We used a lot of different skills in today's episode. Michael, can you name some of the skills that you used?
Yeah, so we were breaking the problem down into its easier steps. We were looking for patterns so that we could use our loop block. We were focusing on the important details of each exercise. And then at the end, we actually created our step-by-step instructions or our algorithm for our microbit to show us all of these amazing animations.
We did indeed. And we definitely also covered our WOD. So we set out to use animations in order to help us exercise. And I definitely got up there and was doing my toe touches and my jumping jacks. So it definitely got me moving.
We definitely covered that one. Finally, our most important one. Niamh, did we have fun?
Well, I had great fun. So I suppose now it's your turn to make your own animations in order to get you moving. So for more information, go to aka.ms/DSByteSize.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode, our final episode of DreamSpace ByteSize. Hopefully you enjoyed it and know that you can always go back and try out these activities again in the future. Hopefully we see you in DreamSpace again soon. Bye guys!
Slán!